The waters around the fish people were still, too still. Not a single weapon clinked, not a murmur rippled through the ranks. They waited, thousands of them, soldiers bred for brutality, warriors born to devour. Then, through the silence, he emerged, tall, commanding, his armor carved from the bones of deep-sea beasts, eyes glowing like burning coals. General Skarun, the one who had risen after Majari, the dreamer, the visionary, the beloved king, was slain on the woman-only island. Skarun was no dreamer, Skarun was a conqueror. He floated before them, then raised his voice, and it split the ocean like lightning in a storm. Last time, we bled. Last time, we tasted the sting of defeat. Not because we were weak. No, because we fought on their land by their rules. His voice thundered with venom. But look around you now. Look at the currents, at the salt in your veins. We are back where we belong, in our water, in our depth, where we are kings. He scanned the sea of warriors. Their eyes burned with the hunger he had ignited. Majari. He had vision. He believed in uniting the sea and land, in giving our children a world where they did not crawl in the dark corners of the ocean, begging for scraps. He died for that dream. His gills flared with rage. I, Skarun, will not be remembered in a story. I will be remembered in the bones of the cities I drown, in the screams of the kings I gut. I will carve our names into the seafloor with the blood of our enemies. The Merfolk think they've rallied an army. The Snake Queen, Mami Wata, Lulenga. They bring magic and alliances. I bring madness, I bring vengeance. He clenched his fist, sharp claws dripping with dark energy. Tonight, the sea turns red. Tonight, the dream Majari died for becomes a kingdom of iron beneath our feet. You are not soldiers. You are not just warriors. You are the end of empires. You are the flood that no wall can hold. So tell me, he shouted, teeth bared, are you ready to claim what's yours? A roar erupted from the fish people, deep and furious, shaking the sea around them. General Skarun smiled, not with joy, but with certainty. Tonight, he would finish what Majari started, and he would do it with fire in his heart and blood in his teeth. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. General Skarun's voice hadn't yet reached them by ear, but they could feel it. His power echoed through the water, a dark vibration that wrapped itself around every living thing in the ocean, creeping into bones, making hearts beat faster. It was as if the sea itself braced for blood. Dziva narrowed his eyes, his jaw tense. He could feel the rage, the fury Skarun stirred in his people. They were close now, close enough to taste the salt of war. Beside him, Mami Wata stood tall and unbothered, her mermaids behind her like shadows with teeth. Her eyes glinted with a calm madness. She was born for this. Lulenga, heavy with memory and purpose, adjusted his grip on his trident. His eyes were locked ahead, but a sudden shift in the current made him turn. A young man stood beside him, strong, upright, eyes shining with determination. It's an honor to fight alongside you, sir, the young man said. Lulenga furrowed his brow. Do I know you? The young warrior smiled. My name is Tuhaka. I sent my people to your realm to unite with your daughter. Lulenga blinked. Tuhaka, of course. He remembered the procession, refined, disciplined, and proud. He had considered them the most worthy, and here he stood, not in royal robes but in armor, ready to bleed. I remember your people, Lulenga said, voice softer now. Tuhaka gave a respectful nod. I will not keep you, sir. If we survive this, I hope we'll speak again. About uniting our kingdoms, properly. Bold, honest. Lulenga liked that. He gave a single nod of approval, and Tuhaka swam off to rejoin his ranks. Lulenga gripped his trident tighter, grounding himself. A shadow passed over his heart. Mwamba. He missed him terribly. He had told his oldest friend to stay behind, to protect Kitapo. If I don't make it, he had said, she'll need someone. Someone loyal. Someone I trust with her life. There is no one else but you, Mwamba. Mwamba had resisted, as expected. He had begged to fight at Lulenga's side, but Lulenga had been firm. This battle may not spare either of us, and someone must survive. Someone must protect her if all else fails. Now, standing here among kings, queens, and ancient gods, Lulenga felt the weight of that choice. He felt the hole Mwamba left beside him, but he also felt pride. Kitapo would be safe. He lifted his eyes. Dziva stood silently at the front, eyes forward, the calm before a storm. Mami Wata hovered just behind, radiating danger and seduction. The snake people, armored and ready, moved like a single body. And all waited for Dziva to speak, to give the signal, to lead them into the mouth of the beast. And then, like a shadow sweeping across the sea, they saw them, the fish people advancing. A dark tide. Their fins rose like blades. Their eyes glowed with warborn rage. Skarun's banners, torn, monstrous, heavy with death, led them forward, across the horizon. Lulenga's breath caught in his throat. This was it. The silence cracked, tension stretched to its final breath. And they waited, just one heartbeat more, for Dziva to raise his weapon and say the words that would send them into legend. The Battle of the Black Tides. It began in silence. Then in an instant, chaos erupted across the ocean floor. Dziva gave the signal, his trident rising like lightning through the water. A sharp pulse surged from him. A war cry carried through the depths, and the ocean screamed with it. The armies surged forward, Merfolk, snake people, Sirens, and the deep-sea legions of Lulenga. They thought they were prepared. They were wrong. Because Skarun hadn't just brought warriors, he had brought monsters. From the shadows of the battlefield, they emerged. Octopi of war, towering beasts with 8 armored limbs, each one moving with eerie coordination. Their bodies were wrapped in black bone plating, ancient and crusted with the remains of those who'd come before. Their eyes glowed red, intelligent, cruel. One of them twisted violently through the ranks, wrapping a snake warrior in 3 limbs at once and ripping them apart in a whirl of blood and bone. Skarun had warned no one. He had bred these creatures in secret, taking the genes of deep predators, combining them with the minds of scouts and the bones of kings. "What in the depths is that?" Lulenga shouted, cutting through the water to face one. It screamed back in a voice like splintered glass. A second beast emerged, a massive anglerfish with wings made of coral blades, its mouth lined with hundreds of interlocking teeth. It surged forward, slamming into Mami Wata's line, sending 3 sirens flying back in pieces. And still they came. Hammerhead eel hybrids, slithering beneath the ground, bursting up beneath their enemies and dragging them down. Crab beasts the size of sea dragons, their shells cracked open to reveal swirling, glowing organs that emitted pulses of deadly energy. Jellyfish wolves, translucent and fast, packed with venom and moving in coordinated packs. Experimental horrors, Skarun's secret army. The battlefield was a nightmare. Dziva darted through the chaos, cutting down one horror after another, but for every beast he killed, 2 more rose from the depths. "They've been building an army of abominations," he yelled, rage thick in his voice. "These aren't warriors, they're engineered death." Lulenga fought beside him, blood in the water, his trident spinning. He didn't come for a war, Dziva. He came for an extinction. But even as the ocean turned red, the allied armies pushed back. The snake people moved like liquid, striking at weak points. Mami Wata's sirens sang songs that made beasts shudder and falter, giving their allies openings to kill. And Tuhaka, the young king, charged straight into the heart of a bone-armored octopus, sliding beneath its limbs and driving his blade into its underbelly, a kill that sent a shockwave of morale through the ranks. The tides began to shift. But then Skarun himself entered the field. He was larger than the rumors had said. His body was no longer that of a fish man. It was rebuilt, fused, augmented. His arms had become fins edged with steel. His mouth opened wider than any natural being, and from it he released a sonic scream that shattered coral walls and ruptured the eardrums of fighters too close. He was not just leading the army. He was a weapon. Dziva looked at Skarun, then turned slowly to glance at Lulenga. No words were spoken, none needed. The ocean around them was still for a split second, just the three of them, surrounded by chaos, blood, and the scent of violence. Dziva raised an eyebrow. The look he gave Lulenga was simple. "You want to take him?" Lulenga, without missing a beat, gave the deepest, most dramatic bow. The message was clear. "He is all yours, my king." Dziva almost laughed. Almost. Not the time. Definitely not the time. But still, he couldn't help it. A crooked smirk tugged at his lips. "You're too kind, Lulenga," he muttered under his breath, cracking his knuckles as he turned to face Skarun, who looked far less amused. And then, mayhem resumed. Dziva swam toward him, eyes burning with rage, and Skarun met him with a grin. "You wanted war, Sea King," he growled, voice distorted, inhuman. "Let me show you what evolution looks like when you cut out mercy." And as the battlefield descended into madness, the sea knew. This was no longer a battle. It was a reckoning. And no one, not even the gods themselves, knew who would rise from the ashes. The sea churned as the two met in the heart of the battle. Their weapons clashed, steel on steel, flesh on fury. "Majari died soft," Skarun growled, circling Dziva. "But you? I'll carve your legacy into the sea floor." Dziva panted, blood dripping from his lip. "You will choke on your own ambition, Skarun." They launched at each other, colliding like twin storms. Dziva's trident struck first, slicing across Skarun's chest, but Skarun retaliated with a roar, claws raking across Dziva's ribs. The battle was brutal, primal. No fancy moves, no war speeches, just rage, honor, pain. All around them the battle raged. Lulenga was a whirlwind of might, striking with the elegance of an old warrior, but the power of a king. His body bore deep cuts and blood seeped from his side, but he did not falter. He fought beside his people, his legacy, his land. At one point he turned, and there was Tuhaka, young and fearless, driving a spear straight through the throat of a mutated eel beast. Lulenga watched. The young man was relentless, brave, reckless, a brave young man indeed. He nodded to himself, pride blooming through pain. Kitapo may have a match after all. Not far off, Mami Wata was fury made flesh. Her body shimmered even under duress, her eyes wild with rage and raw magic. Her song echoed through the sea, luring three more of Skarun's beasts into a trance before her blades silenced them forever. But even goddesses bleed. A horned fish beast caught her off guard, slashing across her back. She cried out, falling, blood in her mouth. Her mermaids rushed to her, shielding her from further strikes, dragging her from the battlefield. She looked back once, eyes glassy. They had to win. The snake people, led by Kwame, fought with unmatched savagery. Trained in land and sea combat, their movements were fluid, unpredictable, lethal. They bit and struck with vengeance, pushing the enemy back. They had not expected such horrors from the fish people, but they had not come this far to fall. They fought for friends, their queen, their legacy. Momentum began to shift. One by one, Skarun's twisted beasts fell. The allies pushed forward, inch by inch, turning horror into hope. But in the center, Dziva and Skarun were still locked in a bloody dance. Skarun roared and drove a blade straight into Dziva's side. Blood burst into the water. Dziva gasped. "No," Lulenga shouted, swimming toward them. But he was too far. With the last of his strength, Dziva let out a growl, spinning his trident, and drove it straight into Skarun's chest, pushing deeper, deeper, until the beast choked. Skarun's eyes widened, glowing dim, and then went dark. The tyrant was dead. But Dziva? He floated back, trident slipping from his grip. His eyes fluttered. His body drifted like kelp in the tide, limp, still. "Dziva!" Lulenga screamed, rushing forward with his warriors. The battlefield fell silent. The remaining fish people dropped their weapons, leaderless, broken. The tide had turned. The war was over. But Dziva was dying. His people grabbed him, swimming fast, calling for healers. Lulenga, barely standing, gripped his weapon like a cane. His chest heaved with pain, his legs weak. Blood clouded the water around him, but he was still alive. He turned his head. Tuhaka was across the battlefield, staring back at him, the young man's chest rising fast, eyes wide and stunned. Lulenga met his gaze and nodded once. A warrior, a king, a man worth knowing. They would speak again. They had won. But the sea was red, and victory had come with a cost. The Snake People warriors returned not as champions parading their victory, but as survivors crawling from the edge of death. Their limbs dragged, their faces were hollow. Some had to be carried, wounded, broken, haunted. When the cry went up that the warriors had returned, Queen Amina rushed from the halls of stone, her heart hammering in her chest. She scanned the crowd frantically, ignoring the whispers, the sobs, the bandaged wounds. And then she saw him. Kwame. He stood tall, though his robe was torn and stained with dried blood. His steps were slower, more deliberate, but he was alive. Relief flooded her. "Kwame," she called, hurrying to him. "What happened? Did you lose?" Kwame looked up at her with tired eyes. "No," he said softly. "We won. It was a terrible war, but we won." Amina's heart skipped. And Dziva?" Her voice cracked with the name. Kwame's eyes dimmed, his lips tightened. "He was gravely wounded," he said, voice low, honest. "If he survives, it would be because the gods reached down and held his soul in place." She swallowed a sob. The leader who had united the oceans, who had teased her beneath the moonlight, who had awakened something in her, was dying. She nodded, forcing herself to be composed. "Thank you for fighting in my name, Kwame. I owe you a great debt. Go rest. You've earned it." Kwame bowed gently and limped away. But Amina stood still, the ache in her chest growing, pressing against the walls of her ribs like a caged animal. She had told Dziva she would not cry for him. She lied. Now, she wanted to scream, to rewind time, to kiss him when he leaned in, to run her fingers across his scars, to say yes when he asked. But it was too late. 1 month later, the river was quiet. Queen Amina stood at its edge holding a single flower in her hand, the same kind she once tossed into these waters when she thought he had died the first time. Now she was sure. She had prayed to the goddess for his recovery, had sent letters seeking news, but no answer had come. Only silence. Dziva was gone. She smiled bitterly, looking at the petals. "You were ridiculous," she whispered to the wind. "So bold, so loud, so alive." She remembered his jokes, his relentless flirting, how his eyes always dared her to admit what she felt. And now, here she was, alone, tossing a flower into a river. "I'll remember you like this," she said. "Silly, brave, impossible." She released the flower and watched it float, following the current away. Her shoulders straightened, her jaw set. "That's it," she whispered. "That's it." And then, a voice. Familiar. Too familiar. "I thought you said you wouldn't cry for me, Snake Queen." She froze. Her heart stopped. She did not turn, lips trembling, already smiling. "No, I didn't cry," she whispered, as if speaking to the wind. "That's just what I would say if you were here." "Was the flower for me?" Amina turned sharply. He was there. Dziva, alive, bruised, thinner, changed, but alive. No royal decorum could stop her. She leapt into the water, crashing toward him, arms around his neck. Her body trembled as she clung to him, and when his arms wrapped around her, a sob escaped her lips. He winced at the contact, his body still raw from battle, but he held her tighter, sinking into her warmth. She felt like home, like certainty in a world that had tried to take everything from him. "I thought I lost you," she whispered against his chest. "I thought you were gone." Dziva exhaled, pressing his lips into her hair. "I told you," he murmured. "I always make sure my debts are paid in full." Amina let out a soft laugh, a breath of relief. Even now, after escaping death, he was still the same, mischievous, cocky, and unbearably charming. Amina punched him lightly. Dziva winced. "Careful," he muttered. still tender in places. She smiled, embarrassed. He smirked. "I see you're happy to see me, Snake Queen." She rolled her eyes, smiling through her tears. "No, I'm just pretending." "Well, I am not," he said, brushing her cheek. "The war changed me, and while I was healing, I did a lot of thinking about legacy, about the future, about what matters." His eyes found hers, serious now, steady. "I've played too much in these waters. I've had many children, but none I can call true heirs, none born of alliance, of honor, of love." She blinked. "Amina," he said, voice deep and deliberate. "Will you marry me?" She froze, the world spinning around her. "What?" she breathed. I don't understand." "I'm not immortal," he said. "I was close to death, and all I thought of was you. I want a life with you, a future. I want to build something real." She inhaled sharply, her mind spinning. She knew Dziva, knew his conquests, his hunger for power and pleasure. But during the long nights she had spent thinking he was gone, all she had thought about was him too. Was it love? Or was it just longing? She was a queen. Love was never promised to her. Alliances were made for power, not passion. She studied him for a moment. He was still the same Dziva, bold, dangerous, wild. A man who made storms feel like whispers. A man who walked into a room and bent every gaze to his will. A ladies' man, a conqueror in bed and battlefield. But he had survived. He had bled. He had come back, not to boast, not to seduce, but to ask. Still, the truth was complicated. She was a queen first. She thought of her people. This alliance would be historic. Her children would carry a mighty name, the blood of snake and sea intertwined. Their kingdoms would be strong, united, protected. It was a good match. But as a woman, something twisted in her stomach. Could she really handle Dziva as a husband? Could she anchor him? Or would he continue to drift from tide to tide, charming, slipping through her fingers like water? Had he really changed? Her eyes searched his, and for a moment she saw something new. Stillness. Not the fire she had seen before, not the waves crashing against the world, but something calmer, grounded. A man who had met death and come back not for glory but for her. Still, she hesitated. Her voice was soft. She lifted her chin. "As a woman, Dziva, I am not sure." She paused. "But as the queen of the snake people, I accept your proposal." A slow, wicked smile spread across his lips. "And that is enough for me, Snake Queen." He leaned in and kissed her, deep and consuming. His lips were not rough, as she had expected, but slow, sensual, meticulous. He explored her, savoring the taste of her, as if he had been starved for her touch. She moaned softly under the moonlight, the sound sending a shiver through him. Dziva pulled back slightly, his breath warm against her lips. "Do you want to go further?" he murmured. Amina nodded, wordless. Speaking would ruin the moment. Dziva glanced around. He did not want her people to see their queen like this. Before the war, he would have taken her right there, without hesitation, without shame. With all the urgency of a man chasing fleeting pleasure, he would have wanted her moans to echo through the air, to reach the ears of her people, for them to know that he had conquered not just their queen, but them by association. But not anymore. She was no longer a moment to possess. She was wife. She was legacy, not a fleeting conquest, but the beginning of something eternal. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms, holding her tightly as he swam away from the riverbank into the shadows, into the unknown. And as the water swallowed them whole, Amina knew her debt would be paid in full. And just like that, dear tribe, we've come to the end of Season 2 of the Mermaids, Witches and Lions series. What a ride it's been. I truly hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because this season has been nothing short of spellbinding. We've fallen from trees, and we've fallen in love. We've had secret affairs, we've made dreams come true. We've wandered into the spiritual realm, journeyed through the forest of the apes, and plunged deep into the ocean's mysterious depths. We've even journeyed to the realm of the gods. We've entered the land of the goblins. We've stood victorious, time and again, rising to the top against all odds. And yes, we were even held hostage by a lion man. And most importantly, we've gone to war, to protect our land from intruders, invaders, and those who came to take what was never theirs. We have defended it with everything we had, with our lives. From the heavens to the earth and everything in between, we've truly been through it all, my tribe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, feeling, laughing, crying, and dreaming alongside me. And above all, after everything, we've finally paid and claimed our debts in full. Until next season, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. At the end of last week's episode, I mentioned that I would feature anyone who replied to my comment. I had asked as we approached the Season 2 finale, what was your standout moment from this season? Sharon answered that question, and her response warmed my heart. She said the entire series was so enjoyable that she feels she needs to re-watch it from Season 1 all the way to the end, just to relive it all. Thank you so much, Sharon, for your beautiful comment, and to every single one of you who has engaged with me in the comments section, thank you. Your words bring me to life. You're funny, you're witty, you're passionate, and most importantly, you are my tribe. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. To those of you who have already joined the tribe, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are truly the heartbeat of this channel. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.